Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Now we are going to discuss about the curriculum. What changes were brought in the curriculum given by Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhiji wanted complete overhauling of the existing curriculum at that time. He was not satisfied actually with the curriculum that was going on or actually was introduced by Britishers, and later on also it was introduced by Britishers, and we were following the same. According to him, he wanted to bring some changes, and what was that? Education should be related to the environment of the child. It should not be imposed on the child. We need to understand the need and the nature of the child, and then it should work accordingly. Emphasis should be given on those subjects which concern our people, our life, our country, and physical and social environment. So these practical subjects must be involved in the education system. This was the viewpoint of Mahatma Gandhi. Besides that, he wanted the teaching and learning should be in mother tongue. That we have already seen that what one of his philosophy was, that focus on the mother tongue. And he wanted that whether it is teaching or learning, both should be done in the mother tongue instead of English as at that time. English medium of learning hindered understanding. Why he was not in the favor of English? Although he was a very good orator in both the language, but he warned that while we are talking about teaching and learning, when we are trying to impart the knowledge to the people, to the masses of our country, it should be taken in mother tongue. English can be taken as another subject, but not as the main part of the teaching and learning. Because somewhere he realized that this English language was creating the problem in understanding or comprehending things, obstructed the clarity of thoughts, and put a check on one's self-expression. Because when the English was, because at that time the people were not that much able to understand the English, and somewhere they were lacking in their self-expression. They were not able to present their ideas in clear way. If we talk about, they were not able to present their ideas in a very clear way. Thirdly, Gandhiji introduced crafts as an essential part of curriculum, where we have already seen that why he was in the favor of that, from where we are just keeping the focus on learning while earning. Craft was not added as an additional subject but as a medium of instruction, where the different subjects should be integrated one under craft only. Means integrated learning concept must be introduced with the help of this craft. He was of the view that the process of education should be imparted through some handicraft or industry. So the involvement of children should be there, means should be in the practically in the different subject which is helping them to learn about the different things in this craft form. The teaching through craft was not to produce craftsmen but to explore its educational values. It was not at all related to the child labor or something like that. Were not in the favor of just producing the craftsmen. The main focus of his ideology was to explore its educational values, how the particular subject can be explored more with the help of the craft. His main viewpoint was that. Now we are going to talk about the different methods of teaching. The different methods of teaching, if we talk about according to Mahatma Gandhi, he was in the favor of education through craft. One of the most important principle he was focusing on, and he would like to involve it in education system. Gandhiji emphasized that children should be educated through the medium of some craft. It is through craft that all the other subjects in the school can be taught. So here we have already discussed about that, the integrated learning through the craft only. The second one is discipline. Discipline also he took discipline as one of the important factor of students' life. He wanted that discipline should be achieved through self-control. Nobody else from the outside should compel you, should impose the different things over you. It should be your self-control. You should be knowing that what is required for your individual growth. If you might have gone through the childhood story of Mahatma Gandhi, you must be knowing when he was going to South Africa. At that time only not even when he was in South Africa, much more before that, here in India only, he was having that one of the characteristic of self-control. And even throughout his life, he reflected this principle through his behavior and the attitude. The self-control was there. How he was able to decide that what is good for him and what is not. He emphasized on self-discipline. The discipline should come from within. Here we are talking that it should not be the out force. It should be the force within you. It should come from you only. Self-discipline comes from self-restraint and self-sacrifice. And when you are putting restrictions to yourself, because when you are in the society as an individual, you are open to so many things. But until and unless you are not deciding your limit, you are not deciding what is good for you and what is bad for you, nobody else can decide. You have to decide on your own. Yes, at the initial stage, if we talk about, the help of the parents or the other society members is required. But once you are able to realize that, you have to take that decision on your own. And you can learn it through self-restraint when you are putting restrictions to yourself, or you are doing self-sacrifice when you are ready to sacrifice your comfort, when you are ready to sacrifice your important things for someone else, for your nation. It is a way of life in which discipline is imposed upon one's own self. Nobody else is imposing that self-discipline, that is only you, which is bringing that principle in your life for the well-being of the society. And ultimately, what is the main purpose? The welfare or the well-being of the whole society. Whatever the self-sacrifice you are doing, the self-restraint you are putting under that self-discipline, along with your own personality development, it should lead to the development of the whole society or the whole nation itself. He also wanted the students to become successful and responsible future citizens of the country. That's why he focused on self-reliance. He wanted them to be that's why he wanted all them to be self-sufficient. For this, the role of the teacher is of much importance in imparting education to the children for self-discipline. And the teacher, one who is going to impart the knowledge or the education to the children, are going to play very important role in the same, where they are telling them the different strategies or the different ideas to work on their self-discipline, which involve their self-sacrifice that we have already discussed, and the self-restraint, where you are putting restrictions to yourself. And until and unless you are not strong with your mind, because you must be knowing the body structure of Mahatma Gandhi. He was very thin and very weak looking person, but you know, his personality was very strong just because of his power of his mind, because of power of his mind, which helped him out to fight against the Britishers, those who were ruling, although he was not the only single person. But yes, if we talk about the history, we have seen that how different movements were started and different incidents were there related to that, which reflected his character and the personality, that how strong he was in spite of having that weak physique. He was very strong by his mind. So, when we are talking about the self-discipline, when you are able to create that self-discipline in your life, when you are very strong by your mind. And if you are not that much strong, then you won't be able to bring that changes in your own personality, and definitely that changes also cannot be reflected in society and then not in the nation. The another method of teaching, if we talk about the correlation method, he advocated the method of correlation. The teaching of various subjects should be in the form of correlated knowledge. So again, nowadays in modern time, this integrated education or learning is getting very famous, and you all must be knowing that while we are talking about this integrated learning or integrated knowledge, it means when you are connecting all the subjects with each other. Because if you are talking about Hindi, that you have to teach with English and Maths also. Same way, if we are talking about science, social science, all the subjects must be interconnected and correlated to each other, which will help you to understand it in much better way, and somewhere you will come to know about the connectivity of one with the another, and these various subjects should be the part of that correlated knowledge as a part of the integrated learning. The teaching of craft should be the focus, and where the main focus must be there on the craft through which you are learning the different subject. Nowadays you must be knowing the different integrated projects you are getting in your subjects. What is the main purpose of that? Time to time the changes are being brought in that, and now they has been introduced as the integrated projects. In many of the schools in our country, if we talk about, they have started or initiated with this, integrated learning also, where they are combining all the subject, and according to Mahatma Gandhi, he wants that craft should be the focus for the same and other subjects should be the related to craft. So he wants this system to be followed in the education. The another method of teaching he focused on, that is use of mother tongue. The education must be given through the medium of the mother tongue, which is going to be more effective and result oriented. While you are talking about expressing the things, expressing your ideas or viewpoint, individual will be able to show their behavior, or individual will be able to show their self development through the same. Mother tongue should be the base for teaching and learning of the subject. While the teacher teaching to the students, the students are learning any of the subject, that should be done with the help of the mother tongue. Other languages can be introduced, but that should come as the secondary one. Mother tongue should get the most importance in the education system. But nowadays the things you might have seen that English, if we talk about, is getting more importance over the other. Reason being because nowadays English is being taken as a global language. So that's why when we are talking about, when we are able to interact with the other countries, the more focus given on English language. But we have to understand, until and unless we are not able to have that respect for our mother tongue, we don't have the knowledge of our mother tongue, we are not able to get success or the development. The another method is emphasis on activity, means practical. Here we can mention about the practical involvement. There should be an emphasis on activity in the field of learning and teaching. When you are learning and teaching, this activity should be the part of that. You all must be knowing that different activities has been introduced at the school level also, where the students are given the different projects, where they are supposed to show their creativity or just prepare the project which are the integrated one, which are related to each other. That AIL also, integrated learning, also has been introduced in the school, where it is helping the students to take it as a project, but somewhere it is leading them to improve their overall development. All education should be imparted through the craft. That is the main base of the education system. The principle of learning by doing should be adopted. That is totally based on the practical involvement or the practical learning. Because simply reading the book and writing is not going to bring that knowledge to you until and unless you're not involved in the same. So that's why these projects and all the things has been introduced in the education system. The next method of teaching if we talk about, that is religious and moral education, which is one of the very important part of education system. According to Gandhiji, the most important means of developing the character and personality of an individual is through the study of religion and morality. While you are able to learn about the particular religion, the teachings of religion and the moral values from that, because no religion is teaching the wrong things. No religion is talking about the violence. No religion is talking about the hatred or the jealousy. All the religions, if you will go through that, all the religions, the holy books of all the religions are talking about the peace and harmony. They all are talking about the moral values based on the good ideas and the good beliefs, and where they are talking about the humanity, love and care and affection for all. So this should be the base of teaching. Beside that, he emphasized on these 4 important elements that should be there in our life, which are these. The first one, self-sacrifice. That is the part of your self-reliance. If you really want to understand your own self, you have to know about the self-sacrifice, and that self-sacrifice you are doing for the another individual, for the society and for the country. You should be involved in the social service, where again the main purpose, the welfare or the well-being of the society you are looking for. Ahimsa is, again if we talk about, that is the non-violence, where you are more preferring peace and harmony with the other instead of involving in fights and any sort of conflicts. Brahmacharya, that is another important part that he has focused on. These 4 elements he took here as the different elements of the life. He wanted that every child in the school should be educated in such a way that he shows the spirit of respect for all the religion and morality in his actual conduct. It should be reflected, all these things must be reflected in their behavior and attitude, that really they have respect for the other religion and the moral values are already integrated part of their personality. Now we are going to start with the meaning of this basic education. What according to Mahatma Gandhi was the meaning of this basic education? Gandhiji had used the term basic in his scheme of education. The term basic is derived from the word base, which means bottom or the foundation. When you are talking about how you are keeping the foundation for something, if you are talking about a child, if you just talking about the foundation of that child, that always must be strong. If you are making one house, you know that until and unless the foundation of that house is not strong, what will happen? During any natural calamity or any disaster, that can fall down easily. The same way, if the base or the foundation of a child is not strong, what will happen? He or she won't be able to survive in this society, because life is very complex, and until and unless you are not able to adjust in that atmosphere, in the different situations, it will be difficult for an individual to survive in that condition. So what is required? That Mahatma Gandhi also focused on the basic education, where he concentrated on the bringing a strong foundation of a child. Therefore, he mentioned that basic education is a fundamental to the whole scheme of education. It is one of the important, vital or the important principle of this basic education. It is basic because minimum learning must be acquired by the average child. And why we are taking it as a basic reason? Because we know that any average child is there. We are not talking about the toppers or the genius student. We are not talking about the those who are having problem in learning. On an average, if we talk about an average child is trying to learn the minimum things out of the education. It is basic in the fact that it relates to the basic occupation of the human life. So, whatever they are learning as a whole, while we are working on the need of an individual, we have to prepare them, provide them all the basic knowledge so that at least accordingly they are able to get that basic occupation which is required for the fulfill of their need. It is basic as it is correlated to the basic needs of the child, because until and unless through that education which we are providing to these students, they are not able to acquire all the materialistic things. They are not, through that basic knowledge that we are providing to a child, they are not able to be self-sufficient. Then there is no use of that education. In October 1937, at All India National Education Conference, which held at Wardha, the principle of basic education of Gandhiji was accepted as the scheme of education suitable for India. Because according to the situation of the India, social-economic situation of the India, it was suggested or it was accepted as one of the important factor in education system. The basic education for the children, which should be the aim in India as per the situation. And what the name was given to this scheme? Wardha scheme of education. It is also known by other name, that is Bunyadi Shiksha. In Hindi we are talking about, we can call it as Bunyadi, the basic. Bunyad means basic education. Shiksha means education. Or Nai Talim. So, here the basic education, Bunyadi Shiksha or Nai Talim, both are the same term can be used for the Wardha scheme of education. But most commonly it is known as basic education or Wardha scheme of education only. And what was the scheme and what was its result? Here we are going to discuss about the same. The scheme was the outcome of Gandhiji's thought, because Mahatma Gandhi had that idea that what is the importance of basic education in. Mahatma Gandhi had an idea that what could be the basic education of, what could be the importance of basic education in an education system. Perhaps Gandhiji is the only freedom fighter in the world who initiated and strengthened several constructive programs for the economic, educational and the social development of the people, because somewhere he was able to realize the condition of India, he was able to realize the need of the people, where he got the idea that until and unless these changes will not be brought in economic, educational and the social sphere of life, the country, our country India, won't be able to develop. He considered education as an effective instrument of national reconstruction, and what he took as a tool, that is, the education was taken as a tool to bring an effective instrumental change in the national reconstruction, to reframe the system, to reframe the whole system, where the different new innovative ideas were to be introduced, where it was the need of the time to replace the old idea with the new one. Gandhiji emphasized the self-sufficient aspect of education along with the other aspect. In fact, he wanted India to be self-sufficient in every walk of national life. In every field he want, here if we talk about every walk or every field, he want India should be self-sufficient. It should not ask other countries to help it in in its development. So somewhere he was talking about the overall development of an individual as well as looking for the development of the whole nation. In July 1937, Gandhiji wrote in the Harij, and by education I meant an all-round drawing out of the best in a child and man, body, mind and spirit or soul. Literacy itself is not education. I would therefore begin the child education by teaching it a useful handicraft and enabling it to produce from the moment it begins its training. So, these were the words that he mentioned in Harij, and in July 1937, Gandhiji wrote in Harijan that by education I meant an all-round drawing out of the best in child and men, including their body, mind, spirit and soul. Literacy itself is not education. I would therefore begin the child's education by teaching it a useful handicraft and enabling it to produce from the moment it begins its training. So these were the words of Mahatma Gandhi, and we have already discussed all these philosophies in the previous topic. Thus, every school can be made self-supporting. The condition being that the state take over the buildings of these schools, and where he focused that government, the state means the particular state government should take the responsibility of the schools and the institution and the education of those particular areas within their control. Now we are going to discuss about the Vardha scheme of education at a glance. The fundamental features of the scheme which was evolved in due courses are as follows. Here we are going to discuss about the different features of this Vardha scheme of education. Here they focused on a duration of 5 hours in the school could roughly be divided on the following basis. Means a child should spend around 5 hours in a school. But how the division would be done? That also they have mentioned here. For physical activities, 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes must be provided. Then, while learning the mother tongue or giving the teaching of the mother tongue, that should be also within the 20 minutes. That 20 minutes must be given only for the mother tongue. Social studies and the general study, the other subjects we talk about, that division between these two can be based on these 60 minutes. It's accordingly can be divided either 30 minutes for each, or accordingly the duration can be divided between these two subjects. For art, where Mahatma Gandhi, earlier also we have seen that how he was much more keeping his focus on craft. So here he has mentioned around 40 minutes spending on art activities. Arithmetic, that is related to the calculations and all, 20 minutes has been given. Beside that the main craft work, clear, including the study of correlated subject, where the craft is going to be the integrated part of the different subject. Around 2 hours to be given together. Thus we can see 2.5 hours will be dedicated to craft work instead of 3 hours and 20 minutes. So here the differentiation has been done between the different time period, the different activities according to the time, which definitely is going to be an important part of the learning of an individual child. Then beside that, here we are going to discuss about the salient features of the scheme. What are the different features included in this Vardha scheme related to education? Firstly, they have mentioned about the free and compulsory education to be given for 8 years, that is 6 to 14 years of age in two different stages. Instead of 7 to 14, the junior stage covering 5 years and senior stage covering 3 years. So this kind of division was initiated at education system under Vardha education system. Secondly, the medium of instructions is to be one's mother tongue instead of imposing any other foreign language. The mother tongue must get the main importance. Then education is to be centered around some form of productive work. The social and physical environment should be used for correlation in addition to craft. And here if we talk about education should focus on some productive work where they are going to include the craft as the main part and all the other subject must be integrated with the craft work. Then the self-supporting aspect is not to be overemphasized. The sale proceeds of the finished goods should be able to help the school to cover up some part of its expenditure, and whatever the craft activities they are involved in, whatever they are creating, these products must help the school to overcome or to fulfill their expenses with the help of the sale. But it should not be like that should be taken as the main base of giving the education. No, it should help the child, but along with that should be included as learning while earning. The concept should be considered here, concept of learning with earning must be followed. Then the external examination are to be abolished. Like now you see that external, here we know that in board examination also we have seen that external examinations are taking place where the student of one school are supposed to be taken to another. But according to that Vardha scheme, this was not considered as a good part of this education system, and they want that external examinations should be abolished. The day-to-day work of the student is to be the determining factor, and what they are involved in, what kind of different activities, how their learning is going on, how their teaching, how their learning activities are going on, and what kind of different knowledge or the education they are getting out of that should be the base for getting to know about them. Textbooks are to be avoided as far as possible. Instead of reading the things from the textbook, the knowledge should be imparted to them through the practical teaching. Cleanliness and health, citizenship, play and recreation are to be given self-sufficient importance. And here we talk about the self-hygiene, including the cleanliness and the health. Citizenship, when you are talking about when you are able to feel yourself connected with your own nation, playing and involving in different recreation activities are to be given the sufficient importance in this education system. So hopefully all these features of a scheme that we have discussed based on the Vardha system are clear to each and everyone. Now we are going to discuss about